picture about the various approaches. The first category is that descriptive or analytical. So, descriptive research, it is basically related to the social sciences where you will carry some survey and the fact finding inquiries. The major purpose of this type of research or research approach is the description of the state of affairs as it exists at present. So, as I told, it is suitable for social sciences, business, and management. So, the main character is that there is no control over the variables. So, researcher reports whatever has happened or what is happening. So, the survey methods of all kinds fall under this category, including comparative and correlation techniques. That is, getting answers through interviews or getting written answers through questionnaire or any other media. Electronic media also is one of them. Whereas the analytical report differs in the aspect that it is a critical evaluation of the material by analyzing facts and information already available. So this is also close to your descriptive research, but you go one step ahead and then analyze the things. Then the applied and fundamental research. So applied research is the target oriented, and the main target is to find solution for an immediate problem that is faced by a society or an industry or an organization. Now here accuracy is required. All these things we had discussed earlier in another form where we had discussed about the types of research. So I am not going to deal them in detail here. So the fundamental research and pure research. This also I have explained. So if you are asked to distinguish between the various approaches of research or to explain the various types of research, the answer should be more or less same. But the only difference is with respect to the approach, you have to give more stress on the type of approach. So that is only the difference. So all these things we have discussed. So I am just skipping them. See, this also we have discussed qualitative and quantitative. Why I am again giving them is that they also come under the various approaches of research, types of research and approaches of research. This also we have seen conceptual, experimental, or empirical. Now we will proceed to the objectives and motivation in research. See, what is the objective of your taking up a research? The main objective is to gain familiarity with a phenomenon or to achieve new insight into it. It may be an exploratory or formulative research study. To determine the frequency of occurrence, I think this also I have covered in the last class. Objectives also I have covered. So these are various objectives. Total there are 9 objectives that are listed, and motivation. So this motivation also I think I have discussed. I have forgotten what I have told in the last class. Anyhow, very quickly I will browse them. So your motivation may be to aspire to get a research degree along with career benefits, or to aspire to take up challenges in solving the unsolved problems. See, if you take a challenge, you will feel the importance, and you feel yourself as a satisfied person. So the desire to get intellectual joy of doing a creative work, aspire to do research to serve the society, seek to get recognition and respect in the society, serve the society as a service provider. I told about the various perspectives in which a researcher will be viewed. A researcher will be viewed as an administrator or a professionist or a consultant or a service provider, like that. So you want yourself to be looked as a service provider. So to be a successful professional consultant, and there may be many others. Now, how do you get motivated? So these are all the aspects of motivation. How you get motivated? You get motivated by going through the problems which are available in the literature, or by discussing with people, researchers already done, those who have done research, or by you will get motivated by having a discussion with industry people, or you can get motivated by observing the facts on the field. Suppose a building is collapsed, so and you are nearby, so then you will see the how the building is collapsing. So then you will naturally get an interest to know how all of a sudden the building has collapsed. So what caused the collapsing of the building? So is it due to the improper design, or due to poor soil conditions, or there may be a differential water level which causes differential settlement? So like that, there may be several causes for the failure of the foundation of a building. So you will get motivated by observing the failure. Similarly, if a bridge has collapsed during ordinary flow time, it may not be very high flood, but still the bridge has collapsed. So what is the reason? So like that, by looking at the natural occurrences, natural phenomena, you can also be get motivated. So this is all. These are all the various ways in which one gets motivated. You can be motivated by your friends, your family members, your teachers, the peer group, in the society in which you are there. So all these things will lead you to take up a research problem, and this is how you can get motivated. Now we'll proceed how to approach the research. So again, the research approach depends upon the type of your research. If it is a quantitative or a qualitative approach, the way in which you proceed will be something. So if it is a quantitative approach, data generation in a quantitative form, and then you analyze the data analysis in a format and rigorous fashion. So you can subclassify all these approaches into inferential approach, experimental approach, and simulation approach. Inferential approach means you observe something and draw inferences. Then the experimental approach is you conduct an experiment and obtain the data and then analyze the data. Similarly, simulation. Simulation is nothing but a computer-based experimentation. So, inferential approach. What is the purpose of inferential approach? The purpose is to form a database from which to infer characteristics or relationships of population. Here, population means the population or the data, the quantum of data which you have collected. Usually means a survey research where a sample of population is studied, questioned, or observed to determine its characteristics. This is more presented in the social science and commerce and management perspective, but This can be viewed in the engineering perspective also. So you generate a data. The way in which you generate data may be different in science and engineering and in social studies and commerce management. In social studies, commerce management, you generate the data through surveys, questionnaires, and interviews. Whereas in your science and engineering, you obtain data from field data measurements or laboratory measurements or simulation. So the basic approach may be different, but the concept is same. The data generation the information which you have obtained. Science and engineering, the population means the quantum of data you have generated. So you draw some characteristics. In case of science and engineering, the characteristics may be in the form of equations. They may be in the form of graphs or charts which display the variation of some parameter or which give a relationship between the independent variables and dependent variables. In case of social sciences, humanities, management, and professional studies, you give a logic behind the observed scenario and the causes or the people's perspective, perception or people's reaction. So that is how the way in which you present your results differ. As someone called experimental approach characterized by much greater control over research environment. Some variables are manipulated to observe their effect on other variables. So the basic difference between the earlier approach and this approach is that you have a control on the variables, whereas in earlier case there is no control. Then simulation involves the construction of an artificial environment within which relevant information and data can be generated. It permits an observation of the dynamic behavior of a system or its subsystem under controlled conditions. Given the values of initial conditions, parameters, and exogenous variables, a simulation is run to represent the behavior of the process over time. This approach is also useful in building models for understanding the future condition. See, basically here, what we do is we are generating a simulation model. We can have full control on the variables. We can change the boundary conditions, we can change the initial conditions, and we can also give some constraints to represent the limitations of the study. So, like that, we can manipulate, we can play with the variables, we can control them in whatever manner we require. And we can concentrate on that particular aspect of the research problem which we have identified. So, if you that simulation can be a mathematical simulation or an experimental simulation. In a laboratory, you generate a model based on the prototype in the field. Suppose you are having a big dam. So the model of the dam can be constructed in the laboratory and you can study the stability of the dam under various conditions, water pressure or the earthquake pressure or the combined earthquake water. You can change the orientation of the dam with respect to the field so that the best possible model can be identified which will have more stability and that can be replicated in the field, and your findings in the laboratory or the experimental model can be extended to the field. So from the field, you get only certain information and you reproduce that information and generate the controls, variables, manipulate the variables to get the worst possible condition. So that is how, in the simulation approach, we can get more information towards the final result. Now, qualitative research is simply uh, only description. It doesn't have any numerical weightage or numerical techniques are not involved. So this is not of much interest to uh, an engineer in general. Now, so so far we have identified the various types of research and then the approaches of this research, the objectives, the motivation. Now we will proceed how to select a research problem, a topic or a problem. A research topic or a problem. A topic is the main organizing principle guiding the presentation of a research report. So, the broad area in which you are working, that is the topic. Topics offer us an occasion for writing and a focus that governs what we want to say. Topics present the core subject matter of scholarly communication. So, in which particular area you are working? So engineering is a broad one. Civil engineering is also broad. Hydraulics is also broad. Soil mechanics is also broad. All of these things, whether it is hydraulics or water resources, soil mechanics or foundation engineering, it is only one topic. You have so many subtopics in it. For example, if you take hydraulics or water resources, studies on rainfall variation, or the flow in a river, or the relation between rainfall and runoff, or the sediment movement. See, like this, when we consider the hydraulics and water resource itself, you will get so many topics, subtopics. So these are all individual problems. So the main topic is your hydraulics or water resources. Similarly, in your soil mechanics and foundation engineering, you can have the influence of liquefaction or consolidation or seismic effects or the pile behavior. So like that, you have general general specialization in civil engineering, and under each specialization you get so many other topics. Now, one precaution is, do not expect choosing a topic for research project to be a quick or easy task. So you cannot say, I have already chosen the research topic, because unless otherwise, you have complete information and knowledge about what is required to be studied, you cannot say your task is over. So I cannot say that I have selected a problem in hydraulics, I have selected a problem in water resources. So the ins and outs of the problem are to be explored first. You should be thinking about it right from the start of this course, at least right from now. So you can go on thinking on what are the various areas in which you can take up a research. Now that you are in the beginning of the course and beginning of your program, before proceeding to selecting your MTech thesis problem, what you have to do, you have to think very well. So what are they? Your supervisor or the department can provide you with a general topic area from which you study a particular aspect, or can provide you with a list of possible topics to choose from, or leave it up to you to choose a topic, and you only have to obtain the permission to write about it before beginning your investigation. So these are the three general things. One is that your department will give you, or your guide will give you, say, you don't do on this problem, or a list of problems can be given and you can be asked to select, or you yourself can do it. Now, when these three scenarios will occur, suppose your supervisor is a researcher who is conducting research over several years and has got contact to various industries or institutions or laboratories where the work is going on. And if he is a regular consultant, then he will be knowing what are the industry problems or what are the field problems. And if he gets a particular problem, if somebody addresses a problem to him, then he in turn can suggest you to take up that problem. So the first scenario occurs when your supervisor is having lot of experience, lot of knowledge, lot of contact, lot of consultancy work. So then he will easily be able to direct you and insist you to work on a particular problem. In such a case, you will be having lot of support from him. Now the second one is giving a list of problems. Now, when this happens, when the department or the group of your faculty group is in, very frequently is in association with other groups, like attending the conferences and discussing with people outside your institute, having an interaction either with the industry people. If not, he's not a consultant, maybe having some interest, the people, the, the core group people of your discipline, if they maintain a rapport with the industry, then also they will be having all the knowledge of all the possible problems the industry is facing. So a good team of specialization in your particular specialization maintains a list of problems, list of research possibility problems, and then they place before the student body to select a particular topic. So in that, you can expect some help from the supervisors because they are aware about the problem through their discussions with industry people or through their discussion with other experts, academicians, while they were attending a conference or like that. Now, the third case depends upon your interest. See, the way in which you show interest. So, if you yourself study about what are all the problems that the field or industry is facing, then you can select a problem by yourself. So, in the case of third category, then the things will be very easy for the student. Only thing is that you should be able to identify the real problem and the scope, whether you will be able to proceed with the work under the guidance that is given to you. So, but because you are having more interest on it, you will be having inclination to get more and more knowledge about the ways and means of tackling that particular research problem. So these are the three scenarios, and under which circumstances these scenarios can be considered also are given. Now somebody is calling. I will see who is. Okay. Now we'll proceed. Further, so the first step is understand what the topic is about. So to understand this, you have to put questions to yourselves and try to get answers. So what are the questions? What are the key words in the topic? Which questions am I going to answer? Which sphere of knowledge does it cover? What variables will be considered? So I told in the beginning, selection of the topic is not that easy. So unless otherwise you get some information about the topic, it is not possible. So you have to understand what the topic is about by putting these questions to yourself. Why you require the keywords? The knowledge of keywords is required to collect information from the internet sources. Nowadays, all the publications, all the papers in their abstract, at the end, they give the keywords. So if you identify your keyword and it is easy for you to go to any search engine, Google or anything, and then type that keyword and you will get a list of all information about that. So you will get the list of articles, papers published, or so, something like that. So that is why you should identify the keyword in each and every topic which you are going to proceed. Then what is that you are going to answer? What is the actual problem? So what thing am I going to carry out a review, or am I going to calculate something, or am I going to design something, or am I going to draw certain inferences from already existing or available data, or am I going to do something else? So that you question you have to put to yourself and solicit answer. Which sphere of knowledge? That means what are the outer boundaries so that you can limit your study, so you can fix your boundaries within which you have to work. And what are the variables you are going to consider? So this is very important. So the second step is very, 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 very important. How many varies I can put? I can put. It is the review related literature to help refine how you will approach the topic and finding a way to analyze it. So that means you are going to unearth what has been done earlier by people. Focus on identifying sources within the literature that support as well as refute this position by providing answers. Has anybody written about this? If yes, what is it about specifically? If no, what gap is my study filling in? So you have to find the gaps in your knowledge. How you are going to fulfill. Now I will give you a small example here. This is a thesis which my scholar is going to submit within a week or so. See, after taking up the work literature review, this is literature review chapter. So after doing knowledge gaps, see what has been written by the scholar here. Research is an unending task which will depend upon the state of the art of knowledge available at any stage of research. When successive researchers consider a study area, will normally limit their scope due to various reasons. Thus, when any researcher provide proceeds proceed to take up a research problem, he or she has to first identify the extent of research carried out already and understand the research gaps to avoid duplication and to obtain useful results to the society. Hence, it is quite necessary to identify the knowledge gaps that exist with respect to any research problem. So, the main object of the present research being water quality assessment, the relevant tasks are identified and the literature has been browsed to set a datum for proceeding with the identified tasks. A tool for assessing the water quality is the water quality index, and as such, the works related to water quality index computations are taken up. Since the study region is of interest to several researchers, an attempt is made to identify the extent of research carried out in the study area. Since it is proposed to perform multivariate statistical analysis and an exercise of how the methods of factor analysis and principal component analysis become handy in the present research analysis. An exercise of how the methods of factor analysis principle become handy in the present research is also taken up and the related works are reviewed. So, from the foregoing information, it is clear that the water quality assessment studies have many contradicting points. So now here we are entering into the gaps. While there was no unanimity on the quality aspect of Brahmani water, the methodology adopted also is not common between different investigators. So we have identified that there is no unanimity and there is no common methodology. Further, all the studies were limited to 1 or at the maximum 2 years data. Such an information cannot reflect. So, like that, we have identified the gaps and I will show you how the gaps are fulfilled. See? Knowledge gaps and their mapping. So, area of study, general water quality. So, these are some knowledge gaps and the knowledge gap fulfillment. So, how this point is taken care? How this point is taken care? How this point is taken care? Water quality studies in the study area. So, like that, if you identify the gaps, it is possible to formulate your methodology to fill in these gaps. Choosing a research topic, what is the caution? It is okay to review related literature to help refine how you will approach analyzing a topic, and then discover that the topic is not all that interesting after all. So you may decide to start with a problem, and after carrying out your literature review, you may land into a such a situation that there is nothing you can really do it. So without knowing, unknowingly, suppose you have started working on it and ultimately you have landed nowhere. So it will not fetch you any recognition, research recognition. So in that case, what you will do, you have to choose another topic. So do not wait too long to make a switch, and be sure to consult your supervisor first. So the first and foremost thing for any researcher to do is study the literature. So the as many papers you go through, that information will provide more information, more knowledge, and it will give you a helping hand in deciding whether the direction in which you are proposing to proceed is correct or not. How do I choose a topic? If you lack ideas or wish to gain focus, perform some or all of the following activities or strategies. So here I have given some activities. So if you carry out these activities, it will be helpful for you. First activity: review your course readings, particularly the suggested reading for topic ideas. See, normally in many institutions, many universities, there will be specialized courses, specialized subjects which will be offered, like your electives. So basically, any curriculum can be divided into three parts. One is a base course, basic course, and the second is a core course, and the third one is a specialization, professional or professional electives also. So normally in undergraduate level, these are there: basic courses, basic engineering courses, core courses, and then your electives. For example, basic surveying, basic fluid mechanics, strength of materials, all these things are basic courses. Then advanced courses or core courses are those courses which are required for strengthening your discipline knowledge. Like, for example, your structural analysis, your foundation engineering. While soil mechanics, basic soil mechanics is a basic course, foundation engineering, huh? Or the water resource engineering, or any other such subjects. Then advanced, that is professional electives, finite element techniques, optimization techniques, statistical analysis techniques. So like that, you will have them. Now, when you come to your higher degree, you forget about the basic courses. All courses are advanced. Advanced fluid mechanics or advanced soil mechanics, whatever it is. They're all advanced courses. And one step further to them will be the electives. So those electives will normally be prescribed by the department, by the institution, keeping in view the research requirements. Say, for example, your remote sensing and GIS, or your water resource systems engineering, or your uh, soil dynamics, or your what is that? I have forgotten. maybe your soil stabilization, that aspect will come, or the pile design. So like that, you have a very high specialization courses. So when you go through those high specialization courses, you will be able to unearth certain problems which are possible to be answered. So if you have a good planned coursework, it is possible to get research topics out of that coursework. Do not just review what you have already read, but jump ahead in the syllabus to reading that what has not been covered yet. So in the syllabus, something will be given. Normally, what is all known, what is all available, but you have to go beyond it and then identify what is not covered yet. That is the knowledge gap. Second activity, go to libraries. Search the library catalog for a good recent introductory books and, if appropriate, more specialized works related to the discipline area of your course. Browse through some current journals in your subject discipline. Even if most of the articles are not relevant, you can skim them through the contents quickly. You only need one to be the spark that begins the process of wanting to learn more about a topic. Consult a librarian or your supervisor about the core journals within your subject. So, this is how you perform activities. Past essays. Think about essays you have written for past classes and other coursework. Thinking back, what most interested you? What would you like to know more about? Online portals. Search online media sources, web, and other things. Use this coverage to refine. Then, more commonly, look around your workshop, department, university environment, or society at large to identify issues of concern to you. You can go to the industry. So, considerations for selecting a research problem. 1 minute. Yes. Okay. I will break here for and possibly unforeseen problems. One should select a topic of great interest to sustain the required motivation. So it is not that initially you show interest and then you drop in the middle. So unless otherwise you have the real interest, you cannot proceed with the research. Then what is the scope? What is the magnitude? So that you have to take into consideration. It is extremely important to select a topic that you can manage within the time and resources at your disposal. Narrow the topic down to something manageable, specific, and clear. See, this is very, very important. Now, normally, some people start with a problem and they plan in a very ambitious way and finally land up in problems. They will be either unable to get to the goal or follow wrong methods because they want to complete it at the earliest possible within the prescribed time. So they follow shortcuts which may give wrong results and bad research. So what you have to do is you split up your entire work into number of stages or number of steps and narrow down and formulate such a problem which can be solved within the time frame, within the resources that are available, and within the knowledge base that you have. So, your research problem has to be really identified, taking into consideration three important things. One is the time, the second is the resources, and the third is the uh, knowledge base. So, taking into three considerations, you have to formulate your research problem, scope of the research problem, and this can be done only through thorough literature review. So, you find the knowledge gaps, and from those knowledge gaps, you select such of those knowledge gaps which you feel that you can fulfill within the availability of these three resources of time, general resources, infrastructural resources, and knowledge base. Okay, that is the second. Third is measurement of concepts. See, whatever you do, it should be measurable. That means quantum of work. See, there is a saying that I have done 100 things. Doing 100 things is not that all important. Doing one thing 100% correctly is more important. So make sure that you are clear about the indicators and measurement of concepts in your study. Example, how do you measure these words? Congestion, efficiency, growth, malfunction, etc. So, what is the efficiency in with which you have done the work? How far it is useful to the society? What is its impact? Whether people will accept or whether people will show disinterest in your findings. So, these are all the terms by which you can measure the quality of your research. So, your research should be capable of standing to the validation, validation by the stakeholders, by the industry, by the society. So, it should be a measurable quantum of work. It is not the quantity of work that is more important, but the quality of the work, its application, its usefulness is more important. And then the level of expertise that you put in. Make sure that you have adequate knowledge or expertise for the task you are proposing, since you need to do the work yourself. So, first you have to get that expertise. Now, in one way, a study of research methodology will enable you to get some of these tools, some of these some of the expertise required for conducting your research. Then, relevance and significance. So, ensure that your study adds to the existing body of knowledge, bridges the current gaps in the knowledge, and is useful in policy formulations. It should not be mere academic interest, academic research. It will be a fundamental research only. It will not be an application oriented application research. So, this will help you to sustain interest in the study. So, if you keep these five considerations and the other considerations which you are going to take up will help you to keep a sustained effort in answering your research problem. Availability of data. So before finalizing on your topic, make sure that data are available. The data are available, already available, or data can be generated through your efforts. Getting information for your research is very critical to any research. Whether that information you are gathering from secondary sources or you yourself are getting the data. So it is immaterial, but you must make sure that the data is at your availability for analyzing it and drawing inferences or conclusions from it. And last but not the least, very, very important thing is ethical issue. So ethical issues are research processes and findings that affect the sensibilities and rights of research participants. So if some people have already done substantiate work in that direction, and simply without mentioning their names, you are, I mean, without quoting them, if you claim that as your work, that is not ethics. It's against the ethics. It is called plagiarism, copying. So that should always be avoided. The effect of the study on the population and how these ethical problems can be overcome should be thoroughly examined at the problem formulating stage. So you should always look into this problem in the beginning itself. Now, especially, this will be a very important point. That means consideration of this ethical issue in the very beginning is more concerned with the humanities and social sciences. Similarly, commerce and management. Now, suppose you are doing a survey on how best your particular product can be produced and manufactured or marketed. Now, during this course of time, you can get information from the society about the performance of other products in the market that are being produced by other organizations or other companies. And if you publish that negative report about those companies or those products, it will be an ethical issue. Unless otherwise you confirm and prove it strongly, you cannot just pass on comments, negative comments on any particular product, concept, philosophy, or in our case, engineering, on any research findings of earlier investigators. Suppose you have studied the relationship between one dependent variable and set of independent variables, and you have compared your results with field data and also with the data that is generated earlier by earlier people. Suppose your model is close to the field observations, close to the experimental data, then you can say that your data and your model is close to the real situation and it is within the actual values within 5 or 10% error or deviation. You should not say that the findings of other investigators are totally not correct. What all you can say is that under these circumstances or with this data available, the other information or other findings or the findings of other researchers are not suitable for the present case. So, like that, you can give a passing comment, but not a contradictory statement. So, that is very, very important. Okay, I have only few slides in this. After I finish this, I will mail this entire PPT in the PDF form to all of you. So, the points to be considered before choosing a topic. So, the topic should be suitable for research and the researcher should have interest in it. The topic should not be chosen by compulsion from someone else, and to take into consideration the time frame and infrastructure available, the expertise available at the place of research, and the society needs. So, by considering these points, you can proceed with your selection of the topic. So how do you identify your research topic and your research problem? Theory or of one's own interest, like how you get motivated, then daily problems, then technological changes, recent trends, unexplored areas, discussion with experts and research supervisor, extension of one's own work or the work in the team, problems posed by the industry, as suggested by your supervisor. So, by following one of these steps, you can identify your research topic. Maybe you can select by your own research or by viewing the daily problems or changes that are occurring in the technology, and by following the research trends and identifying the unexplored areas, discussion with experts, extension of the work you have done at a lower research level, and then the problems posed by industry, or follow your supervisor. Normally, people commit certain mistakes in selecting the research problem, and I have given the list of possible mistakes that people commit. Selection of controversial topics, selecting too narrow or too vague problems. See, you should never select a controversial problem. Suppose you are conducting research on the river waters. So, if a river is an interstate river, and if there are any disputes on sharing of those waters of the river, then you should not attempt to carry out research. Now, here I will give you an example. Way back during 70s, when I was doing my research, there was a lot of controversy on the utilization of Godavari water. So, people who wanted to do research on Godavari river water, they are not allowed to do. They are not allowed for publicizing the results. So, one person, my senior there in IIT Kanpur, what he has done mistake was he has started already and he was halfway through and he wanted to publish the paper. Then it came to know that the paper cannot be published by mentioning the name of the river. So there is a problem for him. He has already done research. He has already arrived at certain results. So what he has to do is he has to say that it is a hypothetical case. He has not mentioned the name of the river. He has not mentioned that it is Godavari river. It is a hypothetical river. See, by saying hypothetical river, the application of the results will not be considered. So, what he has to do, he has done is that hypothetical river he has mentioned, and one case he has projected for the Godavari river, one particular aspect which is having not no dispute in that particular aspect, he has presented it. So like that, people will land into problems at a later stage if they choose the controversial topics. You should not select too narrow or too vague. Vague means something you do not know. It is just like an open ground. So infinite extent in all directions. So you should not select such a problem. Selecting unfamiliar and non-feasible topics, ignoring time and cost. See, one person in IIT Delhi, he has he belongs to a chemical engineering specialization. So he wanted to do certain work. What happened was he wanted an equipment. So the equipment was very costly, and he has to get that equipment. Now, how? The supervisor was not having any research project in that area. So that 1 minute, 1 minute. 1990s, the cost of the equipment was about 10 lakhs. It is a reactor type thing. So the departmental budget, yearly budget itself was not that much. Maybe because it was IIT Kanpur, IIT Delhi, all IITs have very high funds, and each department will be having to the tune of 20 to 25 lakhs yearly as research grants, research budget. But if 15 lakhs is spent on one particular equipment, which will cater to the needs of only one student, then the other equipment required may not be procured. So at the departmental level, they have said that it is not possible. So the candidate has to was asked to find out other resources of getting the equipment. So the candidate is in fix, and the supervisor also is helpless. So what he has done is, the supervisor, he has prepared a justification for that particular equipment, and then he has put forth all his effort to substantiate the necessity of the equipment and to get a special grant. So the director of IIT Delhi at that time was V.S. Raju. So he has given special consideration, and he has given special grant for procurement, and also asked the supervisor to devise a plan how best that equipment can be used in future for getting or for getting revenue out of it. So that he has given, and only after a span of 3 months, the equipment was approved, and of course it took another 3 months to get that equipment got imported from United States of America. So the entire work was stopped for 6 months, one semester. So that is how things will happen. So the cost aspects. Working in an area where no expertise is available for guidance, obvious. Selecting too ambitious topics. Deciding a problem without thorough literature study. Selecting a problem which has been under investigation somewhere else. Not consulting the experts in the field. Lack of knowledge on the research tools and the methodology. So these are the mistakes. So if you eliminate these mistakes, then you can get a good research problem. You can identify a good research problem. So once you have taken all precautions and you have avoided all mistakes, assess whether your problem is selected is appropriate or not. Then again, you will put these questions. Is it really interesting to the researcher and to the scientific community? Is it significant to the present status of the topic? Is there sufficient environment and infrastructure for the selected problem? Can it be solved within the given time frame? Is sufficient information available in the form of library and software for overcoming the hurdles during the progress of research? Is there a peer group in the selected field to comment on the selected problem? This is very, very important. See, your research is not a domain which is a very closed door work. Whatever you do, you have to publish it. So you have to place it before so many experts. So, are there really some experts are available within your reach to assess or to pass on comments on the defined problem? So, there must be a peer group that is available. Is there a possibility of patenting the outcome? That is very important. If there is a possibility of patenting the outcome, then it will be very useful to the society. Is there sufficient encouragement within the organization where you are working? So these are the points which you have to you consider. Will give you uh, information about the quality or appropriateness of the problem that you have defined. Okay, I'll be stopping here for today.